We have boxing commentator all the way from London. We've got Rakheem Noble to give us more updates about this fight and, of course, what to expect, what the fans are saying over there as we look forward to this major one happening at the Wembley Stadium. Glad to have you with us, Rakheem.
Oh, glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, we look forward to this fight between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. It's been the most talked about fight for sports pundits all over the world. And it looks like Anthony Joshua, both fighters actually have a point to prove in this one.
Yeah, no doubt. Anthony Joshua, he lost his title, of course, to Usyk 2 years ago. And since then, he's been on the redemption. He's been putting himself back into the rankings. Whereas Dubois, quite surprisingly, has ended up as the world champion. Now, like you said earlier on, he won a vacant belt. It wasn't even vacant. At the time, Usyk still held the belt, but after the fight with Hrgović, the title became vacant and he was literally elevated as the IBF interim to the full world champion. So before Dubois' last fight, he didn't expect to be a world champion and he wasn't a world champion after his last fight. It's just one of those technicalities. So yeah, he's going to want to legitimize this belt. Anthony Joshua has been a top, you could say, 5, 3 and even #1 heavyweight since about 2017, once he beat Vitaly Klitschko. Since then, he's been a top guy. He's been the name to beat. Dubois, who now come onto the scene on the world rankings, he's going to want to have a notable winner of his belt. Of course, Filip Hrgović is a good win, but being Anthony Joshua cements you as a certified world champion. And that IBF championship holds a lot of weight if he can get a win over Anthony Joshua this Saturday.
Now, looking at both fighters, comparing their age now, Daniel Dubois, of course, is way younger than Anthony Joshua. Dubois is in his late 20s, while Anthony Joshua is about 34 years old. Do you think that will count when these two fighters meet?
Personally, no. I don't think age, especially for heavyweights, at this point, wouldn't come into it too much. I believe Joshua's 33, 34. Dubois is about 26, 27, around that age group. They've not done many rounds in their career. If you look how much rounds they've done, how many first, second, or third round knockouts they've had quite a few between them. So there's not been too much battle damage on them. One could argue that Joshua started boxing at the age of 18, 19, a lot later. He's got a lot less wear and tear on the clock. Whereas Dubois, I think Dubois has been boxing from a kid. So one could argue maybe Dubois has been through a bit more physically. But overall, like I said, in heavyweight contests, the fights are over so quickly. These fighters are still extremely, incredibly strong, relying on their power. I don't think age is going to come into it. What I could feel may come into it is maybe hunger. At this point, this is Joshua going for his third time as heavyweight champion. It's for him, it's legacy. He's done it all before. He's been there. This whole event is being spoken about because of Joshua. Joshua is a worldwide phenomenal, a star. Daniel Dubois beats him. Daniel Dubois is now a star in many people's eyes. Daniel Dubois beats him. He's now got a legitimate win on his CV. Daniel Dubois beats him. He's now the fully respected world champion. He can go on to verse Usyk or Tyson Fury. He's now the man. So I think there's definitely a lot more in it for Daniel Dubois to change his life around. And could there be questions of Anthony Joshua? Maybe he's coming towards the end. Maybe he's not taking Dubois as seriously. Like, he's taken on the likes of Dylan White. He's taken on the likes of Oleksandr Usyk twice. Klitschko. He's been in with much more bigger names. So it could maybe just come down to how much Dubois wants it or how much Anthony Joshua is going to take it seriously.
Hi, Rakheem. I don't know if you'll be at Wembley, probably part of the 96,000. But interestingly, I also think this is a silent matchup between Matchroom and Queensberry, right? And it's always good to see these two houses always go head to head. But I wanted to ask you, I wanted you to talk about the personality of these two fighters. Both are cold, yeah, you know. And when it comes to boxing, you love to see the trash talking. You love to see both of them promise themselves, you know, hell, fire, and brimstone. But the build up to this one has been really, really cool. I mean, look at Daniel Dubois. You look at him and he's a cool guy. At the final pre-fight conference, you know, he was even asking Frank Warren, you know, to give him answers. Joshua also looks cool as well. Don't you fear that the personality of those two fighters might affect the fight tomorrow night?
Well, I want to go back to what you said about the Queensberry matchroom. It's great. In the last year now, since they've been working with Riyadh Season and the Saudis, we've seen a lot more cross-promotional fights between Queensberry, Boxer, Matchroom, and hopefully that's something come a lot more in the future, because there was a point of time where we would never get these guys in the room. Now they're all together organising and staging fights. Going on to their personality and characters, we've seen both of them in the ring. we've seen what both of them can do. I'm not so worried about their demeanors being cool and calm, because ultimately between the two of them, there's over, I believe, a 95% knockout ratio. So I don't know how much more we can be guaranteed someone's getting knocked out on Saturday night. It's a 12-round scheduled fight. I think the ring walk's approximately going to be between 9:45 and 10 West African time and British time. So if we got a 10 o'clock start to the fight, I don't think by 10:20 the fight's still going on. You know, I think within 6, 8 very max, I think that fight's going to be over with. It's one fight you could probably assure is not going to go the difference. And however cool and calm they are outside, suavely dressed, coolly spoken, a bit humorous in the interviews, they know how to handle business inside the ring.
Rakheem, at this point in time, I think it's only right that I put you on the spot. Who is your money on? Who do you think is going to walk out with the IBF heavyweight title?
As I said earlier on, this is the Joshua show. You know, there's been heavyweight fights in the UK, there's been world title fights in the UK, but it's never going to be the same as if Anthony Joshua or, for example, Tyson Fury headlining the show. So Anthony Joshua, he's got a lot to live up to. He's done it before. He's been in there with, like I said, the Ruizes, the Usyks, the Dylan Whites, so many fighters now, I'm just losing track of them, but he's done it, been in there and know before. And I understand and I respect that Daniel Dubois is coming off a bit of a bumpy start earlier on. You know, he took the loss to Usyk, he looked the loss to Joyce. He's redeemed himself. He's won back a lot of people's belief and faith. He's become a world champion, and now he's got it all to fight for, because this is going to be the fight that can elevate his career to the next stage. But I just think that Anthony Joshua is going to have too much more in the tank. You know, too experienced. He's not shown any signs of deterioration. He's had the adversities. He's boxed 24 rounds of Usyk. Daniel Dubois, I think, went about 9 or 10. Fighting on this big stage, fighting on this platform, fighting with the whole entire world watching. This is something that Anthony Joshua has been common to since 2018. So, yeah, I don't think Dubois is going to be a pushover. I do think he's going to give it his best attempt, as we've seen him before in the past, but I think it's just a case of levels. And if we look at world title fights, well, going into this world title fight, Daniel Dubois has not been in one. I don't know, tell a lie. He was in the WBA with Trevor Bryan, we'll give him that. Okay, we'll call it 2 or 3. Let's say 3 world title fights. Dubois, Anthony Joshua, I think at this point he's been in well over 10 against, like I said, elite guys, the Klitschko's, the Usyks, the Ruizes, bad like Dylan White. He's done it over and over. Joseph Parker, we keep forgetting. Look how good Joseph Parker's been doing kind of recently, and Anthony Joshua dealt with him. So, yeah, I'm going to go for Anthony Joshua. I think he's going to get the job done under, let's say, between 6 and 8 rounds.
Okay, we'll see how that turns out for Anthony Joshua if he gets to defeat Daniel Dubois later on. That will be on Saturday, 21st of September. Thank you very much, Rakheem, for joining us today, talking about the fight between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. We'll look forward to having you again, maybe after the fight, to give you analysis on that one. Thank you very much.
Thanks.